I was down here a couple of weeks ago, so it's good to be back already. Kind of demonstrates interest in what we're trying to accomplish on a statewide basis. I'm Vice President of the Illinois Manufacturing Association. My portfolio up until 2 years ago included lobbying, it included communications, marketing, etc. All of that has now been stripped away. This is what I do now. Full-time, 5 days a week, I'm on the road. Talking about the Manufacturers Education Initiative, and even more recently, the Accelerated Training in Illinois for Illinois Manufacturers, which is a separate grant program under the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. That is a workforce-driven grant where we are eligible individuals. Here's the challenge. At the height of the recession in 2008, over 80% of manufacturers reported in a survey either moderate or severe problems in finding skilled workers. In Illinois, our problems are compounded by the fact that we have a graying population. Over the next 15 years, we have to find and replace 30,000 production workers each and every year over the next 15 years. That doesn't include normal turnover rates, it doesn't include ebb and flow of the economy, it doesn't include any of the front office activities, including engineers. When we talk about engineers, we need 5,000 of those each and every year for the next 15 years. This is just retirements of the baby boom generation that are upon us. Part of the problem is that generations after the baby boom did not produce enough kids to replace people one for one. And until the millennials come of age and enter the workforce in 2018 and in earnest in 2020, we're going to see fewer workers than there are jobs available. Technological advancements in manufacturing really require that everyone coming into the field have some post-secondary education. And there's no secret that we have major deficits in our education system that need to be addressed because we're developing people without basic skills. Let me amplify that a little bit. Studies have shown that kids start drifting away from math and science, the so-called STEM subjects, as early as 3rd and 4th grade. And if any of you high school folks want to amplify that or disagree or discuss it, stop me when I'm wrong. Depending on what community college you go to in the state of Illinois, the minimum, 2/3 of all incoming freshmen need to take remedial math and remedial reading. They're not getting to community college at grade level. There's a reason for that. They're not getting to 9th grade level. Teachers report, K-8 teachers report to us that over half of them are actually afraid to teach math and science because they too struggled with it when they were going through school. So when a kid starts drifting away because he finds the math challenging and there's a teacher without the passion to really hold him back, that separation occurs and now it's a chasing game. So if we can agree on nothing more, we have to fix K-8 by bringing applied math, applied physics, applied chemistry into the classroom so that we can entice kids to work with their hands and learn tactily what they're having difficulty and struggling with learning out of the book. Enough of that soapbox. Everybody in the room knows the value of high school diplomas just don't have the currency they once did. Again, everybody needs some post-secondary. To address this in the manufacturing spaces, we've developed with manufacturers and educators sitting in a room and hashing things out, what we call the Manufacturers Education Initiative. It is based upon a combination of traditional education plus credentials that we call stackable credentials. All of the credentials we use are industry-driven. That is, the machinists themselves came up with the credentials for machining. Welders came up with the credentials for welding. Quality control technicians for quality, etc. So these are the standards that are important to the industry. They are aligned to the U.S. Department of Labor's competency model. If you've ever seen it, it's a colorful pyramid and it has 40 pages of standards behind it. So that when somebody comes into the room and says, hey, you know, you ought to be using the Nelson certificate for welding, all I do is hand them the competency model and say, show me how that measures up to the competency model we'll consider. These are nationally portable, so regardless of where the person studies, all employers will know exactly what that person's been taught. Whether they learned here at Lakeland, over at Lincoln Land, up at Daly College in Chicago, your employers will know, if they hold that certificate, what they know. Let me illustrate the point. If you are a welder and work for Caterpillar anywhere in the United States, you go to Caterpillar University at Mossville to learn how to weld to CAT standards. Become a CAT welder. It is 10 hours a day, 12 weeks, 5 days a week. And all you do is weld, learn about electrology, metallurgy, etc. I was taking a tour, and I was with the head welding instructor for the United States for Caterpillar. And I said, do you ever get experienced welders in here? And he said, sure, we get them in here all the time. And I can usually get them to CAT standards in 4 to 6 weeks. It's not bad. I said, let me ask you a little different question. Do you ever get somebody in here with an American Welding Society certificate? He said, not very often, but when I do, I jump at it. I said, well, do they require 4 to 6 weeks? He goes, no. I can take them direct to the floor, tell them the weld I want, watch them a couple of times, they're good to go. Accompanying me was the Senior Vice President for HR for Caterpillar Worldwide. I looked at her and I asked her, if I can take your welding training module, 12 weeks, or 6 weeks, or 4 weeks, and shrink it to less than 1 week, what's the value proposition for Caterpillar? Just in welding, it's tens of millions of dollars annually. That's the value of nationally portable, industry-driven certificates. These are all third-party validated by ANSI and ISO. They are the folks who validate the quality of the training. And they're database supported, so that when you offer a certificate program, you're meeting local needs. At community college up the road, a piece called me, probably 6 months ago. It was one of the instructors. He said, I want to start an electronics manufacturing program of study. I said, okay, let me ask you one question first. How many electronics manufacturers do you have in a 50-mile radius of the campus? He said, none. I said, why would you do that? He just thought it was cool. Okay, but it's not going to help somebody get a job. Okay? The first credential that we like to use is called the Manufacturer's, is from the Manufacturer Skills Standards Council, Certified Production Technician, and they also have a logistics side and Certified Logistics Technician. These are entry-level general skills that go across all verticals of manufacturing, whether or not you're making cupcakes or steel. What are the yellow lines on the floor for? What's a lockout tag? What's a 5S notice? Why is it a really bad idea to wear Bermuda shorts and flip-flops in a welding booth? It's been done. It's basic skills. It just doesn't focus on any particular vertical. That makes students or career changers or veterans or whomever else entry-level employable. Takes the training module, cuts it about in half. There are 4 credentials leading to the certification. Number 1 is safety. And for purposes of the ADAM program, safety is going to be required for everybody in the treatment program. If we get nothing else accomplished with folks in ADAM, we want them to be safe in the workplace. Number 2 is quality and measurement. This is quality control, measuring devices, a lot of soft skills in here too. That's an option in the traditional bridge in the ADAM program. Then the other 2 are production processes and maintenance awareness. This will shrink. What we're talking about in using the credentials in ADAM will shrink the employer training mod by about 1/4. Okay, and establishes basic skills once again. Okay, how do we align the Manufacturers Education Initiative? Let me talk for a couple of minutes about the MEI a little bit more, because this presentation, I thought it had some other slides in it, it doesn't. The Manufacturers Education Initiative, a lot of high schools teach, they'll teach welding, or they'll teach some basic machining, or shop, or what have you. They'll teach lathing, milling, grinding, things like that. And we've had all these programs out here all over the place for years and years, and sometimes they've been aligned. But what the Manufacturers Education Initiative really does, really focuses on, is taking high school programming so that kids can start learning manufacturing skills as early as 9th or 10th and 11th grade, and then transition them smoothly with dual credit, hopefully, into the community college where they can finish what they started in high school and also extend into other credentials. And I've been focused on implementing this for the last year and a half at the community college level so that we have a pull-push strategy with the community college as the hub. I find community colleges are a lot more agile than high schools because they don't have quite as many restrictions as the State Board of Education puts on high schools today. So we implemented first in community colleges, and that allows us to go out and pull the feeder high schools. So as I implemented this, we're establishing regional STEM learning exchanges. These are based on adjacent community college districts. I use community college districts once again because it gives me a defined geographic area. And within that defined geographic area, it gives me a defined number of feeder high schools, and it gives me a defined number of manufacturers who are the customers of the community college. Education system, from a manufacturer's point of view, the education system provides us an input to a manufacturing process, and that input is workers. My guys make great widgets. We make the best widgets in the world. A lot of times we're not the best teachers. It's not our passion. Community colleges, high school, those are the people with the passion. So we want to use that passion to help us create a pipeline of skilled workers. Make sense? So this year, Manufacturers Education Initiative is in 27 different community colleges in the state of Illinois. Last year we were in 1, so it's been a very busy year. We're also in 12 high schools statewide. I want to at least double, if not triple, that number this year for next fall. And I also want to get eventually to 40 community colleges across the state. So, Manufacturers Education Initiative is the big brother to virtually everything that's going on. Where ADAM comes in is the Workforce Investment Act. The ADAM program is focused on WIA-eligible individuals, dislocated workers, long-term unemployed, veterans, etc. Okay? And it is accelerated training in recognition of skills that already have been obtained by the individual. We have developed questionnaires for WIA eligible. First thing you would figure out is whether the person in front of you is eligible under the Workforce Investment Act. That's number one. Then most all of these folks are going to have a work history, which allows us to look at competency of skills that they already possess. And for somebody, if somebody comes in and says, well, you know, I've been a machinist for 15 years, but, you know, we're really not sure, employers have developed a battery of questions that we can ask that over a very quick period of time, we can ascertain whether or not the person really does know what they're talking about, or if they're just flapping their guns. But from that, if a training module is, say, 10 weeks long, and I'm just using this as an example, and the person already demonstrates the skills and knowledge that he knows about 5 weeks worth of that training, you don't have to put him through that first 5 weeks again. Put him through the last part, let's get him out the door. Let's compress the training that the individual needs to become eligible for certification or for entry-level work. Okay? Yeah. How do the partnerships work? Well, hang on, let's see what this slide says. Okay. Over the years, we have tried countless strategies to train the workforce. We've had workforce boards lead the charge. We've had community colleges or the education system lead the charge. We've had community-based organizations lead the charge. We've had everybody except one group, and that's manufacturers themselves. We've always asked manufacturers to be involved, to attend meetings like this or what have you, and offer on-the-job training and job shadowing days and things like that. But we've never really asked for real skin in the game. That's why the Manufacturers Education Initiative is employer-led. The STEM learning exchanges are employer-led. Because that's the only thing we haven't tried yet. And I think it will work. If we have a product to show manufacturers that this does work, and I think it does. The folks that I've talked to, the folks that are already involved, know it works. And the example that I gave you about Caterpillar, let me give you a second example. Same company, but different guy, Jim Blass, who sits on my board of directors at the IMA. Until recently, he was the plant manager at Caterpillar Aurora, where they make the big backhoes and things like that for mining. I mean, these things are huge. You couldn't fit one in this room if you tried. I was describing the initiative to Jim one day. He said, go talk to somebody who doesn't get it. Let me tell you how I recruit my engineer. He said, I pick up the phone, I call the department chairman at Northern Illinois University School of Engineering, and I say, Frank, it's Jim, how's Shell? They have a relationship. Then he'll say something like, I need 50 interns, engineering interns. That's how Caterpillar starts all of their engineering employees, as interns. I need 50 interns to start on October 1st. I need 19 electrical, 7 mechanical, and the rest production. What have you got? And he said, by the end of the next day, I'll have his top 75 kids' resumes on my desk with margin notes from the faculty on the strengths and weaknesses of each kid. He said, that's the relationship we need to build between manufacturers and educators. Presidents of companies, no presidents of colleges, no superintendents of school districts. The relationship we have to build is with the faculty. Because you know the kids. You know that Johnny's ready to go. You know, in a couple of years of good experience, he can be a supervisor. But Tommy, he's not quite there yet. He needs to be ridden a little bit. Those are the relationships we're looking for. We know every kid is different. We know every student is different. We know every adult is different and has a different story. But going in, if we know those things, I think we produce better employees. Anyway, so we need participation from employers for a few things. And I think that slide is on here. Okay, well, we'll see for this. Manufacturing careers require skills. Adam is not a dumping ground. Okay? It is a ground to accelerate training. Okay? And it's a short window. I don't know what your what the goal is for this area. I think it's about 100 people. Anybody know? Okay. Credentials can lead to degrees. Here's a good way of looking at both Adam and the MEI. Beginning last spring, all Illinois high school juniors were given all 3 of the ACT work keys. This is a college and career readiness test given by the fine folks who brought us the ACT. And it measures strengths and weaknesses against 17,000 occupational titles, including all of the titles we use in manufacturing. Students who successfully complete that are eligible for the National Career Readiness Certificate. It comes in different flavors. It comes in bronze, silver, gold, and platinum, depending on their score. Okay? So, a lot of employers around the state of Illinois are starting to use the NCRC as a screening device for new applicants because it does identify those strengths and weaknesses. For students who are interested in going into manufacturing, again, we suggest the MSSC Certified Production Technician. Then as they go on, well, after this, we suggest an internship. They've got the basic skills to be able to, for entry level, so let's let them try on manufacturing. See if they like it. There's nothing worse than having an employee who hates what they do, right? Because where's the first place it goes? It goes into the product. We don't want that. We want employees who get the picture of what we're trying to do. So we're suggesting like a summer internship for those seniors transitioning, or a one semester part-time internship for continuing students or entry students. Then following that, okay, so what flips your switch? Is it welding? Go into an AWS program. Machining? Go into a NIMS program. You really interested in doing the engineering spaces? Society for Manufacturing Engineers. Okay. There are others. Like I said, there's 450 credentials available. American Society for Quality, the Hydraulic Fluids Society, the American Society for Transportation and Logistics. The list goes on and on. So, whether the person takes a certification path, and this will encourage lifelong learning because AWS itself has 8 different credentials that you can obtain. NIMS is now over 100. So it encourages lifelong learning back and forth into the community college system to increase skills or cross skills. I noticed that Bob is a welder over there, and he's making $4 grand a year more than I am. Maybe I'll go back and get a welding certificate. Guess what? Now I'm twice as valuable to my employer because I can do more stuff. And I'm certified to do it. Okay. As I've traveled the state, manufacturers tell me they want 5 things from every job applicant. Test me and see if I'm okay. First, sure, we want the hard skills, but equally as important, if not more important in a lot of cases, soft skills. I've had manufacturers say, if you can just get them to show up on time, second day, second week, I'll take them the rest of the way. Don't worry. I just need somebody there on time. Other soft skills, proper attire. How do we work as a team? Everybody coming in today has to pass the drug screen. We have high-speed automated systems, robotics, etc., and there's still some dangerous jobs in manufacturing. Everybody's got to pass the drug screen. When I talk to students, I say, look, I want to make sure that the guy next to you and me in the next welding booth isn't high in a place and go boom real fast. If we all hold ourselves to the same standard, we're all going to be okay. Disclosure of criminal background. This has kind of become a litmus test question. A lot of my members will say, look, if you're upfront with me and tell me you've had a problem, if I want to hire you, I'll find a way around it. But if you don't tell me the truth at the beginning, I don't have time. And I will find out. At the end of the day, folks, what we really want, we want the machine operator to say, I dropped the screw right there in the machine. It's right, so that when the tech comes, it's not a 2-day process to tear down the machine, when all we have to do is remove this plate right here. The last thing, reliable transportation, flexible childcare. This isn't so much an issue for urban areas as it is for more rural areas. And a lot of big companies are now offering childcare on site to give the workforce more flexibility. we're a long way away from having small and medium guys being able to do that, because it is an expensive and proposition. Okay. A little bit about my foundation. We're already helping training. We've trained now over 55 MSSC instructors statewide. I need to get one here at Lakeland. We also have instructors at high schools and a couple in the private sector for employers who wanted to train their incumbent workforce and certify them in production. We can help you recruit manufacturers. There are 17,000 manufacturing companies in the state of Illinois today. We have a dues pay membership of about 4,000. So we've got a pretty good nucleus around the state. This prep is one of our newer members. You know, I can't flip a switch and say, okay, everybody show up now, and they do. You know, these are independent people, and a lot of small and medium guys are really busy trying to keep the doors open. So to recruit manufacturers does take some initiative. It takes a lot of times it's peer-to-peer. So you know that we already have 4 manufacturers on board for October. That's a good start. And what we can do is work. I'm happy to work with those guys. I'm happy to do whatever you need. But we can also recruit peer-to-peer. You know, a lot of times what I've done in peer-to-peer recruiting is say, if you're going to be there, would you be willing to make 2 phone calls to 2 of your suppliers and ask them to become involved, or at least come to a meeting and find out if they want to become involved? It's a great way to start. Okay. When I was talking about the 5 things employers wanted, the education community came back and said, well, we want 5 things too. The first thing they wanted was this: internships. Worthwhile internships. And when we were first going through this up at Hartford College, I had a group at a long table. I had 6 manufacturers on this side. I had the community college and the local high schools on that side. And we were talking. They were all excited because they were getting ready to finish off and sign off on the curriculum. I said, have you talked about internships? And my manufacturing guy said, don't worry about it. We do internships all the time. I said, well, tell them what an internship is at your company. Well, the kids come in, they take inventory in the stock room, they cut the grass. If we got a little painting project, we give them a brush, and all the educators go, nope, it's not going to work. It's not worthwhile. We can't give credit for that. I said, okay, that's one side of the equation. Now, you guys tell the manufacturers what's a worthwhile internship from your perspective. Person's on the floor, they're running a machine, producing product. They're nope, time. We got liability issues. We got state laws about who can be on the floor. One of the guys with the union shop said my steward's going to go through the roof. Okay. Now we've got 2 sides of the equation. How do we get to the middle? It took about an hour and a half. Here's what they came up with. Very simple definition. Worthwhile internships put into practice what's taught in the classroom. It's negotiable. Depends on what the manufacturer can and is willing to do. But we approach it on 3 different levels. First is job shadowing. Just watch what we do here. Second is mentoring. Here's what we do at Nelson Industries. Here's how we do it. And most importantly, this is why we do it the way we do it, to make sure our customer is satisfied, so that there's a total immersion in the concept that at the end of the day, either the customer is happy or none of us has a job. You're part of a team that ensures that the customer is satisfied. And the third level is apprenticeship. Now, under my supervision, do what I do. I use the word apprenticeship very deliberately because it is a term that is well known and comfortable for union shops. We're not training Bobby to take Ted's job. We're training Bobby so that when Ted decides it's time to retire, we got somebody who can step right in. It seems to be working. Up in Hartford, they had those 6 employers, 2 of them got into a competition to see who could recruit the most other employers to offer internships. And the prize was that the president of the college went and worked at their plant for a day. They ended up, 2 of them, over a 3-month period, recruiting 75 companies and over 100 internships available. Not bad, peer to peer. So it can be done. I prefer internships over OJT, and here's why. It's how much education can we, and information can we do at the school to shrink that training module. OJT, we do some of the basics, and then we do this much, and then the rest is, what have we really provided the employer at that point, except more of what he's doing now. Let's see. We also have other resources available. I'm the closest thing on our staff that we have to an economist, so I'm always looking at numbers. So if we don't have the numbers, I know where to get them. From Mitch Daniels at the Department of Employment Security, where I used to work. So use us as a resource. This will never work if it's top-down driven from Springfield. It can only work if it's driven locally. You have local issues, you develop the local solution to it. So the first thing that we always suggest people do in establish, and I need to establish the regional STEM learning exchange for this area. It's going to be a rather large one, but employer-driven. What we want to do is get that off the ground to help you have a place to formalize relationships. Because that's really, at the end of the day, that's really what this is about. It's developing sustainable relationships. Because what happens too often in grant programs, the MEI is a grant from Race to the Top. It's for high schools, community colleges. ADAM is from the Department of Labor. There's another program for veterans. There's, it's all over the place. So again, I'm fighting the battle of aligning programs, and then all these other things are flying in from the sides. So it's like, okay, get in here. Here's where you fit. So it keeps my life exciting. Like I said, this is all I do now. Currently, MSSC instructors are at these community colleges. So those of you involved in ADAM, if you don't see a school in your arena, I can tell you right now, Lincoln Land should be added to that list. And why did I put an E on Assoc? Anyway, there's one other Kaskaskia, I think, should be up there too now. But I'm training more all the time. I'll probably have another class, probably October, November, somewhere in there. So if Lakeland wants to get a trained instructor, let me know. Because my board of directors feels so strongly about MSSC, I will pay the tuition for that instructor. It's $2,200 that you don't have to spend. It's 3 days of training, and everybody who's come through has said it's been some of the best training they've ever had. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it, and I would be happy to respond to your question. This is kind of a melding of both the MEI and ADAM. So, question?
You had mentioned, with this super region network there's a 6 community college consortium.
Right.
And is there something that you'd be willing to share where we can let all of the colleges involved know about that funding to help to get MSSC instructors at each of them?
Yes, I have sent community college presidents.
So they have that
multiple. Which colleges are missing up here for you?
The ones involved in this consortium, in addition to Lakeland College, and Danville is represented here today, Mr. Ray, but there's also Parkland, Richland Community College,
Richland has one.
and they did, I didn't see them.
Illinois Eastern Kaskaskia, Lakeland.
Illinois Eastern does not have one yet. I've talked to Terry Bruce about it. And they just couldn't get ready in time for this last class. So I'm hoping that they'll be ready for the next one.
So what are the requirements? I mean, what are the expectations?
Expectations are is that you would offer the MSSC certificate.
For the instructor, though, to be a qualified person to look at for MSSC training.
So you decide who you want to be the instructor for that class.
Manufacturing background.
Always helpful, not absolutely required. They'll go through 3 days of training. They'll also come out with their safety credential. And we encourage all instructors to become certified production technicians. So we encourage them to take all 4 of the assessment tests. I hold what I call assessment Saturdays, where I'll set up camp at a community college, and if you need an assessment test, come on in, we'll get you tested. So,
Next training,
I haven't set a date yet, but I'm kind of looking late October, early November. October's, you know, it's manufacturing month here in Illinois. You know, October 4th is National Manufacturing Day, but in Illinois, because we start schools before Labor Day, Friday, October 4th is the final day for midterm exams. It's not a real good day to be saying, gee, let's take all seniors, or let's take the kids out of class that day. So we asked the governor, and he's agreed to proclaim the month of October as manufacturing month, so that gives everybody maximum flexibility. So we also have a website called dreamitdoitil.com, and that is a repository. If you've got, you know, I think I've got the round table on my calendar already. Now that I say that, I better check. But
Yeah, please don't schedule your training on October 30th.
no, I won't. I mean,